Hey, Allie.
Hey, Seth.
Hey, so we got another great candidate running for Congress in Tennessee. It's Victoria Broderick. She is out of District 4, and she is another great millennial candidate, progressive candidate, and I can't wait to talk to her today.
I can't wait either. It's our first female candidate. You made this arrangement, you arranged this interview, and I feel like it was a very special gift to me. So I can't wait to get to talk to her.
Yeah, we
See
met
you on
on.
the other side.
All right, sounds good. Let's get it.
We have another congressional candidate today, and I'm going to just bear with me. It is Victoria Broderick. Okay, I had to use the Oprah voice. I had to use the Oprah voice because this is the first female congressional candidate that we have had on the show so far. One of more to come. That's the caveat. But I'm insanely excited to finally have a gal pal to talk to on the show. So, Victoria, are you there?
I am. Hi, guys.
Hey, welcome, welcome. So, Victoria, you are running for Congress in Tennessee's 4th district, correct?
I am. Yeah.
And I did some research on you, and I saw that there was something specific that triggered you to run for political office. And I'm using the word trigger intentionally. And that specific thing is personal to me as a woman, personal to me as a woman with 2 daughters, and personal to so many women across our country. So, if you wouldn't mind, talk to us a little bit about your background and what prompted you to run for Congress in Tennessee.
Yeah. So, my hard launch was in 2024. That is when I decided to run against my opponent. And basically, I was on a district-wide call because I was a county chair of one of the, at the time, 93 counties in Tennessee, and found out he was going to run unopposed. And I sent over my dead body and picked up a petition over a weekend and some liquid courage, and I was off to the races. But my journey really started in 2022. A year prior in 2021, I suffered an IUD fail. And found out I was pregnant, and was navigating a very what could be a very complicated pregnancy. Unfortunately, I miscarried, and then again, you're dealing with the medical system, you're dealing with all the issues that come up with that, you're dealing with just not learning everything on the fly.
Right.
Well, a month later, I found out I was pregnant again, and again, not a healthy start for a pregnancy right after a miscarriage. Shocking the doctor, shocking the system, shocking the family, having to navigate the medical system again, and again, a more complicated pregnancy, because just the way it started. Luckily for me, I gave birth to a beautiful baby 9 months later. And
Congratulations.
yes, we adore him, even though I don't quite trust him because he's not supposed to be here. And that is a joke for the people. I get a lot. Sometimes I get pushback on that joke, but no, we adore him. It was wanted and loved, and it's a happy surprise. Well, while I was on maternity leave, Roe overturned, and I just could not stand that. I could not stand the idea that now, a year later, almost to the day of what I was experiencing, now would have been more complicated. My doctor's arms, one arm being tied behind their back, I wouldn't be getting the same medical care, etc. Tennessee's trigger ban was going to go in effect, so I did the logical thing. I started a TikTok account and became the friendly neighborhood liberal and started doing voter education and why you should show up in local and state elections. I was already pretty plugged in with the party at that point, because I didn't realize that it's not normal to be a 5-year-old watching The West Wing, but like that was me as a kid. And then I worked on a campaign in 2019. That was my first work, but I've been always a little bit political. Started the friendly neighborhood liberal on TikTok, which was kind of a joke because people considered me radical at the time, but I wanted it to be fun and friendly and inviting. And then I also became a county chair a month later because I was like, okay, I'm going to change it on the ground and be involved in the party and change the party from within while also educating voters. And then fast forward to 2024, I lost my election. But for those of you who don't know, I was a first-time candidate. I had no name recognition. I ran my campaign as a mom of 2 tiny humans, at the time 4 fur babies. I foster with a local humane society. I worked full time. I ran a campaign in 5 months, and I raised over $120,000 as a first-time candidate.
Incredible.
And I mean, this is with being told 3 days into me picking up a petition and being on the ballot that I would be lucky if I raised $50,000, and I got no party support. So like, this is a phenomenal race, and we felt it on the ground. We felt it in 2024 where it just felt different and people were showing up, even with everything else going on. And about 15 seconds after I lost, I decided I was going to run again because I was like, let's keep the momentum going. Let's keep the work going. Let's keep moving the needle because, you know, that's the goal, is to move the needle, make the change. And the numbers reflected that work. We learned that between 2022 and 2024, I grew the district. And that is what we felt on the ground. And now here I am running my second congressional race, and I've been running consistently since May of 2024. I have not stopped working. I still work full time. I work in the tech industry. I work in support. But Seth and I actually met over my logistics experience. We were up on a TikTok live debating, and I talked about international domestic logistics when it comes to tariffs. And yeah, that's just a little bit about me and how I got here. I mean, it feels wild telling the story, but this is what we need. We need change.
I am exhausted just hearing all of that, but also so impressed. I love that your response to losing that race in 2024 was like, okay, well, we're just gonna keep it going then.
Mhm.
We're just gonna we're gonna win it next time, but we're not gonna lose that momentum. Incredible.
Yeah, because most candidates burn out. They don't do it again.
Yeah.
They get, and I'm like, I'm an athlete, you know, you don't fall down on the field and because you missed the goal, you get
That's
back
right.
up, you go catch it, you know, ex-soccer player, you know, those jokes that your coaches make if you're younger and they're telling you like all these things will pay off in your life later on. It
Mhm.
literally does.
It
Like,
does.
I
Yeah.
thought that my coach was dumb, and now I'm over here like, no, I'm making
Yeah. Yeah.
time.
Love that. Seth, I know you have a ton of questions, so I don't want to bogart your time. Go ahead.
Yeah, exactly, Allie. And I mean, don't get me started on this sports stuff because this interview will go all the way left. Don't get me going there. It's already March Madness, all right. But again, Victoria, it was so impressive to see you grow the district in that way. I mean, $120,000, and that is unbelievable. As a guy who does sales for my own sports teams, I'm lucky if I can get 20. So I need to talk to you about that. But anyway, as we go into the primaries and the midterms. You know, I mean, obviously you have the momentum from last time, but also, you know, just a few months ago, we saw Afton Bain really come in your home state of Tennessee and I mean, come within single digits of a victory. And so, with your own momentum and then seeing Afton do what she did, what kind of encouragement does that give you heading into your primaries and the midterms?
Well, I mean, that one, I love Afton. I actually love that I met her on the campaign trail. We have become not close friends, but we're friends. Like, I get to text her and talk about things, and I love supporting her race. I don't know if you got to see, but I literally was on the ground canvassing for her, making sure that we were outreach, like reaching out to all my creator content contacts to try and like get more momentum around it. And I mean, that's what we saw. So like Afton went up in a primary against men, and she was the most progressive candidate on the ballot. But here's the thing, Afton's an activist at heart. She won her seat because she started as an activist. There is this famous picture of her getting arrested at the state house because she was literally speaking out for for children's rights, I believe is like what the story is. And so like in this sphere, this is her work. Her field game was so strong, and just everything that she offered was different for voters, because voters around here listening, progressivism isn't scary. If you like 8-hour work days, that's progressivism. If you like your weekends, that's progressivism. It is progress with purpose. We're not out here offering anything other than, I want working class people better represented. I want your life to be easier. And Afton represented that. She is a working person who is real and sings Dolly Parton 9 to 5 when she gets going. And then, I happened to have a conversation with her when she was considering. She mentioned to me that people had reached out and asked her to run for office. And I said, girl, do it. Like, go for the special election. Let's do this. Let's flip this seat. And what we saw was a growth in that district and a voter turnout and excitement and and a single digit margin in a 22 plus district.
Unreal.
And what's ironic to that is my district is a 22 plus district. And one of the counties in my district, Rutherford County, is on the map, the national map for flippable counties. And what does that mean for me? That means I flip my seat because that's where the majority of my votes, I think it's like 55,000 of my votes came out of Rutherford County. And what did I offer in 2024 that wasn't already in? I was a working class mom. I'm offering progressivism. I don't shy away from the hard topics. I don't abandon marginalized communities. And it's bought me respect. It's bought me Republican ticket, like Republican votes, because they come to my protest and forums, and they're just like, you sound moderate, which is literally my favorite thing to hear in a rural district in Tennessee, because for those of you who don't know, District 4, it doesn't touch Memphis, it doesn't touch Nashville, it doesn't touch Chattanooga. I am literally in the middle of this very red sea, but it wasn't always that way. It's been gerrymandered that way.
Mhm.
Yeah.
What we learned in 2024 is my messaging works. My work speaks for itself. And the great thing is the field director who did all that field work for Afton on my team.
Oh, that's
Let's
so
go.
cool.
Let's go. Well, I'm super jacked to hear about that. I mean, as a guy who grew up in the South, seeing Democrats gain momentum right around where I live. I told you my father was raised in Nashville. My grandpa lived and died in Nashville, and so to see that change is so encouraging. It's so cool. I want to talk to you about the supermajority in Tennessee, and we had talked about that. Mississippi just got done breaking their own supermajority over there. And again, that's just proof of the momentum that we have in the South. Talk about the supermajority in Tennessee and the work that you want to do there.
Yeah, so I mean, like, a lot of people don't realize Tennessee is a unique state. We are a supermajority in our state legislature, but we also have a majority of our federal seats are held by Republicans, as well as we have a Republican governor. We also have the added bonus of most right-wing media is now housed in the state of Tennessee, in Nashville. So this is a very, very calculated move by the right. We are a testing ground. Now, what does that mean for a supermajority? Well, Tennessee wasn't always red. We used to be purple. We used to have, my district itself was blue up until 2008. And people wonder how it flipped and why we've always felt like a red state. And I tell people all the time, it's because there was a down ballot initiative in the 2008 to 2012 range, which literally they flooded the market, and it allowed for school boards to be flipped red, and then the people work their way up through the system. And it is when my opponent, Scott Desjardins, became the now 16-year incumbent and was elected in office and has stayed here ever since. And we haven't been able to touch him. And that is because Tennessee is not, while we are, if you go in our election office, you see every voting booth that will say #1 in voter integrity, but we're 51st in voter turnout. We are 48th in voter turnout in 2024. That's not first in voter, in voter safety or voter, but what it is voter suppression. It's gerrymandered and voter suppression, because I think it's something like 200,000 voters. If they showed up to vote Democrat, we would flip every seat. It's such a small number. So what we need is people to stop being apathetic. I'm not afraid of losing my election. I'm afraid of voter apathy in 2026.
Absolutely. I want to talk to you about an issue that's close to your heart, and I think right, it rings loud and true with progressives like myself and Allie. Universal pre-K. You know, as a mom, as a parent, I think that's something that a lot of parents are looking for in this world where increasingly one income is not going to pay the bills for middle class households in America. And so, as a working mom, as a parent, I know that that's something close to your heart, and I want to know what. I want you to dig into that a little bit deeper for our audience.
Yeah, no, it is something that's on my platform. You can go to Victoria, the number 4 Tennessee.org or .com, and you can see that I want universal pre-K. And it's not just because, I want an outlet for working class families who are like myself, both parents are working and we need a good place. We know that pre-K education, that starting early, we catch things earlier, they get a more equitable start in life. And it's social bonding, it's learning how, and if we take the pressure off of parents to pay that additional amount of money, etc., it saves money in the long run, because if parents don't have to worry about, where their kids are going to school, they have that pre-K option. They can go straight from daycare. Maybe they're only paying now 2 years in childcare for a young child, instead of paying from now like 1 to all the way up to almost 5 years old, just depending on the area you live in. So again, these are all things that can be done, and people are like, how are you going to pay for it?
Of course.
Taxes.
Yeah.
Making corporations pay their fair share.
Exactly. And corporations should be incentivized for a program like that. You're going to have increased productivity. You're going to have parents that are basically more available because they can afford to have their children in daycare services. So it seems like a win-win to me, but they never quite look at it that way.
They never look at it that way. They think short term, they don't think long term outcomes. And it's not a one size fits all, because it's not just universal pre-K. It's making sure education system is up to par with the rest of the world. The average child is going to school at 5 years old, whereas in other countries, they're starting as early as 3 years old. That is a huge amount of time to lose in a very young developmental life. I mean, I'm in the thick of it. I have a 3-nager and a 5-year-old. And I say 3-nager specifically because he is a whole personality, that IUD fail, miscarriage, and then immediate pregnancy baby. Who would have thought it? But he's so smart. And that's because we had something unique that other parents and generations didn't have before. And that is, I had 2 pandemic babies. So there was more free time in some ways to just really hone in those skills. He also has an older brother who it was a full pandemic baby.
Yeah.
And he, I had so much more time with him, and so did my husband, that it shows. It just shows in how advanced they are. Just overall, and we know that works. The science is there, and the parents need it at the end of the day. So I mean, it's a win-win-win for everyone. If we're quoting The Office, it's definitely a win.
Can we really quickly go back to the incumbent, your opposition, Scott, I believe you said his name was. What's his full name?
Scott Desjardins.
And how is that working out for your community? How is he, obviously you must feel that he is falling short in terms of servicing his constituents. So what's he like? How's that going?
I mean, he's potatoes. There's not a better way to describe him. So a lot of people don't know about Scott Desjardins. And that's not because he's been in office for 16 years. I mean, he is no different than Marjorie Taylor Greene. However, he's not loud and proud like some of his counterparts. So Scott Desjardins was elected in 2012, and he is a 16-year incumbent. But he is most famously known because after he was elected, it came out in divorce proceedings that he had pulled a gun on his wife and dry fired through the door to force her to get an abortion.
What?
Wait, there's more. Just go on and hold the beer there, because this is going to get worse.
Okay.
forced two other partners to get abortions, one of which he had to drive out of state. And the reason he had to force these two other partners to get abortions is because he was a medical doctor trading medicine for relations with his patients. He is no longer that because he had to step away for obvious reasons. Now, he is a Tea Party member. He is a MAGA Republican. He has been voted by a conservative magazine one of the worst Republican representatives in the House, and has been quoted in closed-door sessions that if he speaks with constituents, he loses votes.
I can't close my jaw right now. I'm having problems shutting my jaw.
He is a potato. He has been in office, but like I said before,
How did all of those scandals not drive him out of those all came out while he was in office?
came out while he was in office.
This is so typical of the Republican Party. You know, Democrats and progressives, we hold ourselves to such a higher standard. We have a very low bar, a very low threshold in terms of tolerating any kind of action that would seem untoward, right? Or that might negatively affect the party. And now you've got this guy doing this stuff, and he was not like chased out of town with pitchforks and tiki. How?
I mean, he doesn't come back to the district. He doesn't come back unless it's a friendly event. And I mean, he doesn't have to. I mean, he's sitting on $500,000 right now in his campaign fund. I'm a working class mom. I don't have $500,000, or I wouldn't be working right now. I would be campaigning full time. I mean, this is what we're up against. You know, that $120,000, the great part about that is that it's all small dollar donations. 95% of it is small dollar donations. So $200 or less. Scott, he's 99% corporate PAC money, corporate money, and AIPAC money. This man doesn't have to lift a finger, and only 1% comes from small dollar donations. Is he beholden to constituents in District 4? Absolutely not. That's why
that's what I was going to ask you. Like, obviously, your fellow community members in your district must be completely frustrated and over this guy, I would imagine.
You would hope so, but unfortunately, no. Most voters, they vote party lines. They don't really care. Voter turnout is crap, and voter suppression is not good here, is like really not good here. You know, so what has happened, it's a twofer, because we've got this Republican incumbent in a supermajority state where most of our seats are Republican. And then you have a Democratic Party that's trying to figure out how to function in this new modern post-Obama, Republican Party.
Right.
And this is a long-term thing. This didn't start in 2008. It didn't start in 2002. This goes, I mean, if you want to go all the way back, it goes back to the Civil War. But the Republican Party really pushed forward in the early 2000s, and how they narrated, really the 80s is part of that as well. So that happened. And then you have the Democratic Party that's going by Obama era ideology, the moderate will get the vote, etc. And putting forward moderate voters who are supposed to grab the swing vote, but swing voters don't vote on moderates. They vote on the economy. So what is a swing voter going to do when, Democrats are out here getting lost in the sauce with Republican talking points, and Republicans are over here like, I'm going to lower your taxes, I'm going to make gas cheaper, I'm going to do all the things. So it's a catch-22. So that is why I myself am not only working within the party because I want to see progressive change, and I want to see better representation, but I'm also a candidate offering something different in District 4. And what we learned in 2024 is it worked.
Amazing. All right. I need to process all of that. So go ahead, Seth.
So I'm
insane story. Insane.
It's wild. It's wild, man. Truly. I mean, there really is like no standards for MAGA. I mean, it's unreal. Yeah, so I'm gonna go with my basic millennial question now. As a fellow millennial, I mean, you and other people that we have interviewed here on this show, you guys represent a completely new, fresh wave of leadership. And I just want to know, as a millennial and as part of that movement, what does that mean to you? And how do you want to see our generation kind of take up the mantle and start to take our country back to where we were?
Yeah. I always jokingly say I'm millennial trash. Um, but I can't take credit for that, just a little. But as a millennial, I think we offer something like a unique perspective. We remember the 90s. Most of us remember the 80s and the 90s. I mean, I was born in the 90s, but I have like 80s nostalgia. We're raised on Star Wars and Indiana Jones and like The West Wing and the American President. Like, these are our foundational like awareness. We had Nickelodeon, like all of that.
Yeah.
And so like as a millennial running for office, I never saw myself in this position. It was never my dream to be president. I was always political, but it was never like this political side of myself really didn't take hold until watching my country really just be the beginnings of, the Trump administration and watching how he just swooped in and took over an entire party. And, as a millennial, I was like, no, no, no. Like, we've all seen this movie. Like, we've all seen it. We've seen what this is. Why isn't anyone saying, no, no, we've seen it. We're good. The Jurassic Park quote where Jeff Goldblum says, everyone was too busy with like, can we? They never asked, should we? And, this is where I'm at as a millennial, as I'm watching all these things take precedent. And I'm like, no, no, we've got to bring back some of that nostalgia, but like with getting rid of the systematic oppression that is plaguing our country. And I think, I'm doing that. And also as a candidate, I look different. And I think that we're groundbreaking in that way. Candidates no longer can be a 2D, two-sided person. We have to be 3D, and we have to be a triple threat. We have to be able to be personable and understand the nostalgia and understand culture, while also being able to speak correctly and sound good and make videos, and then be policymakers and understand the legislation. So I think we do offer something that's different. It reminds me of old school Hollywood where the triple threat is dance, sing, and act. Like, it's the same thing.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. And I think, also millennials, Seth, you've talked about before living through like the recession of 2008 and the collapse of the housing market. And, a lot of you coming into the workplace, into the workforce during that time, I think has been really, really sort of pivotal in informing your worldview.
I mean, that's a great point too, because like my work career looks different. I went to university. I went to Austin P. Let's go P in Clarksville, Tennessee. And I graduated in 2015. I literally graduated as we're rolling into an election year and rolling into like seeing all these things progress in our country. I knew that Trump was going to be a problem in 2015. But I went into a workforce with a degree thinking I was going to get a decent job, and it just wasn't that. So I have been working in customer service. I mean, I've been working since I had baby teeth, but like, as I go into you got the degree, I did it in 4 years, did it in 1 year less than the national average, all these things to be proud of. And I walk into a workforce that isn't prepared for me, that had spent 4 years telling me to get a real job as I'm working as a barista, my full-time, going to school full-time. This is probably where the crazy schedule things were learned.
Right.
And overdoing it was learned, and getting told every day, get a real job, get a real job. And then I go out to get a real job and it's not there. And, and then I get a real job in 2016. I moved into international domestic logistics. You know, it was outside of my scope. I had always grown up in the tile industry. My dad worked in tile, so he utilized that knowledge, and I went in and I started working and I started learning about the process. Trump had been elected, but I was like, oh, we'll be okay. And then the tariffs hit in 2018. And my international domestic logistics job was now facing some real consequences. We were a small company, a small business that helped source for bigger companies that people would recognize the names for. And overnight, I had $3.5 million worth of freight on an ocean liner that all the contracts were paid out for. And we were trying to figure out how we were going to pay the additional, because I think it went up to 30%. Don't quote me on that for the keyboard warriors who might be watching this. I don't remember exactly the tariff amount, but I remember it was enough of a jump for the owners to literally say, well, I guess we're going to go out of business.
Ugh.
And they didn't go out of business, but some of us lost our jobs. And I was one of those people. My job was outsourced to China. I had went from being a sourcing coordinator who could tell you how long it was going to take, put in special orders, etc. Literally learned all the things about freight and tile, etc. Importing from China, Italy, Spain, and India, to having to figure it out again. And, I worked temporarily at another job and then found another job. We decided to move back to Tennessee because we were living in Texas at the time, and moved back to Tennessee, get a domestic logistics job, learning all about more of the domestic side than I had had before. And then the pandemic hits. And Trump handles it the way Trump handles everything, which is not good. And I witnessed an industry, truckers and freight, go from what would have been $900 to $5,000. And again, I lost my job, and I lost it for two reasons: the pandemic, and also I was a new mom. And there were no protections for new moms, and I was forced to come back from maternity leave before I was ready. And I lost my job 4 days after returning from maternity leave. I was written up for poor work performance.
Wow.
So, I mean, these are core to my, to my existence, to why I'm running for office. Is I'd witnessed it at the front end of what happens, but I've also, I was lucky. I found another job. I worked a campaign, and the guy who was running for office just happened to be like, hey, I would love you to work for my team, even though he lost his election. And I got a job and started in the tech industry, where I became tech support. I tell old people when I go out and I'm trying to explain my job, I'm the person who asks you to turn it off and on again. That's me.
Great.
I SaaS product. So project management, online, learning all the ins and outs. I'm the first troubleshooter on this. And it's been an interesting industry to work in, taking all those skills that I've learned previously and then putting it into tech and learning tech. But now I get to also witness what happens, in the tech industry, because not only did I get to experience what was a positive, post having baby experience with my second child, I also witnessed what happens with those lack of protections in a job, because your brain's just not ready to come back for work. It's just too much to ask a person who has literally grown a whole human for almost an entire year, gives birth to it, and then is in the thick of motherhood and parenthood, to come back to work and pretend like she can answer an email. It's a big ask. And then I also got to witness how the tech industry handles waves of the economy and how it can negatively affect. And now we're seeing AI. So I think I'm uniquely positioned to understand what this administration is doing when it comes to tariffs, as well as understand what we're not doing when it comes to AI and our industry and corporations, when we just don't put any guardrails around protecting consumers. And I'm going to Congress to change these things, because I've not only witnessed it firsthand, I know that specifically when it comes to AI, we are in a dangerous spot.
Absolutely.
Not guardrails for consumers and workers.
And I relate a little too well to that. Not the pregnancy part, but I swear to God, like
Thanks for clarifying that, Seth. We were
yeah,
very confused.
I'm a public
So graduating out of the recession, thinking that I'm going to have a job in TV news, newspapers, whatever, coming out of the recession, all the newspaper staffs are cut in half. The news station staffs are cut in half. You're having to work part-time. I mean, you're getting into the gig economy. Like, what is the gig economy? I thought I was going to get a full-time job. Nope. And so it is just having to reinvent yourself over and over again and learn new skills for the gig economy. It's just, it's wild. So yeah, like I think our generation has this trauma where we entered the adult world that was turned upside down from what we were told our entire lives it was going to be like. So I'm just glad that you're in the position that you're in, you're running, and I'm so glad that we got to talk to you today to kind of round things out, because I think a lot of people don't understand the struggle.
Yeah, for sure. And I think you're just remarkable. I'm like I said earlier, I'm exhausted just listening to this journey, but somehow you seem so well equipped for it. And I mean,
I'm just fun sizing feral. That's it.
Yeah, I love that.
You can get at, if you go to, there is a link, you can buy that shirt. It says fun sized and feral. And then, Victoria for Congress on the back. And that was because I've said it for a while now, but I was at the Remove the Regime in DC and Remember Your Oath in DC. And I said it to a couple of bigger content creators. I'm like, please put that on their shirt. And I was like, I need to trademark this today.
That is so cool. I love that. I've often called myself fun size because I'm a short girly.
I'm half and half does count.
Yes, that's right. Oh, we count every half.
Oh. I think people all the time, they meet me and they think that I'm taller. Like, I can't tell you how many people I've met and they're like, I just thought you'd be taller. And I was like, it's because I'm unhinged.
It's the personality that makes the stature, right? I get that. I totally get that. Well, this has been amazing.
Yeah.
Before we get into how to help you and your campaign, I have to ask you a question that I ask every candidate just for confirmation. You will not accept corporate PAC money or foreign interest money for your campaign. Is that correct?
I do not. I was actually unique in 2024. I was the only federal candidate to sign a pro-peace pact where I said I would not take AIPAC money and that I openly supported the Palestinian people. So I am uniquely positioned. I do not take corporate PAC money. I do not take AIPAC money. I am a small dollar donation girly and I am proud of it.
And I'm proud of you for that. I love that. Yeah. So, okay, tell us how to support you. What do you need right now? Is it donations? Is it volunteers? Is it everything? And how can people find you?
Donations are key. I am trying to do this full time. We saw a lull in 2025 that's normal for election cycles, but a lot of people forget that money out of politics doesn't include candidates, and quite often we are put to the task to raise all this money, as well as people see that money as value. I got the question a couple days ago of like, why am I talking about the $120,000? I was like, because not only does it winnow for endorsements and more donations, like from bigger people who can put out the max out to $3,300 here in Tennessee. It also wins over voters, and quite often voters really go on that. They go on that social commodity. So how can you support me? Donate. Become a recurring donor. $5, $10, $25. You won't regret it, because not only do you get to donate to my campaign, you also get a handwritten thank you note. Of my donors, every single one in 2024 got a handwritten thank you card from yours truly. I even got people and call outs. There is a Resistor Vic. He's big on TikTok. I did not know he had donated to my campaign, had no idea. And I wrote him a thank you note, and then he made a video. And all of his followers wanted to do that as well. Like, we're just shocked. I have people literally send me pictures of them putting up. So you get a thank you note, you get multiple if you continue donations. I do send out several because I love my donors, especially if I know you. You get a special note. But how you can help me if you can't donate, share, go to my social media page, share it out with 10, 15, 20 friends, encourage people to vote. You can go to my website where I edit everything. You can see my actual work, as well as you can see all where my platform is. I am running on safety, affordability, freedom, and equity in 2026. What does that mean for you? It's a safety net to protect you. It is a making sure that corporations are paying their fair share so that you don't feel that at the gas pump. It is making sure that your health care is affordable and accessible to you. Mental health, dental, etc. is there. You know, when we talk about affordability, people think about the economy, but they think about the gas pump, they think about the grocery store. Making them pay their fair share is the point. Making sure that your corporate job is paying you fair wages is the point. Making sure that you have universal health care, because that not only helps your company, it helps you. You know, these are all things. And I mean, freedom. At the end of the day, I want you to be able to love who you love, get the gender affirming care that you need, because I don't know your body. And as a governing person, I should not be telling you what to do. Your medical doctor and yourself can guide that messaging all the way. However you decide to do that, I support that. And also, what good is the American dream if you can't afford it? So all the things I've been saying, freedom is there. And, you know, for the 2A peeps, I am a gun owner. I am not here to take your gun, but I am here to address an issue. And then lastly, but not least, equity. We deserve equity in our small businesses so that you have a same chance of being successful as a big business, you know, so that you as an individual don't have to worry that you're going to be priced out of the market by a corporation. So that you're not having to worry about, you know, if you're Black, brown, and indigenous or a marginalized community, you don't have to worry that you're not going to get a fair shot at life because of those things. So in 2026, we're running on safety, affordability, freedom, and equity. You can find me at Victoria4Tennessee.com.org. You can see all of my policy. You can see the safety, affordability, freedom, and equity, as well as you can sign up to volunteer. You can find all my social medias. Because these campaigns run on people like you. And like I said, I'm not afraid of I'm not afraid of losing. I am afraid of voter apathy in 2026. I need your support because we can flip this seat, and we're going to flip the House in 2026.
Love it. I'm a fan forever now. You're an absolute delight. Seth, thank you for coordinating this with Victoria. I like to think this was a gift to me. This was a gift for me because it's our first female guest.
And I had a joke, but it felt a little inappropriate, and I don't know if you'll keep this in. I was like, "Oh, I get to pop your cherry."
Yeah, we're keeping that in.
Yes,
yeah, we are.
We are on Substack.
We're allowed to say all the things.
I just got 3 votes because I said that.
I actually believe that. That's very true.
Someone was like, no, she seems cool.
Well, Victoria, thank you so much for joining us. And Seth, thank you for making this happen.
Yeah,
of course. Yeah, this was a treat, Victoria. Thank you so much for the time.
Of course. Seth always has me on TikTok. That's how we met. So I'm super thankful to you, Seth. I'm super thankful for all of you, for Allie having me on, working with my schedule, because, you know, it's wild over here.
Yes.
So just making the time, like everything worked out. Like, that's my thing. It's like everything's just going to work out in my favor because I'm willing this into existence. We're flipping this seat, and I'm going to get a book deal at the end of it.
All right.
Let's go.
I love that. Manifest it. Absolutely. All right, Victoria, we'll stay in touch. Big things to come for you.
Thank you.
Well, that was delightful.
Oh, man.
I love her.
What an absolute treat. I mean, and she is sharp as a tack. She is, I mean, how many plates does she have spinning, Allie? I mean, Victoria really does it all.
I mean, my kids are grown, but I remember my working mom days, and there's just no way I would be able to manage everything that she's managing with such young kids and with such positivity and grace and energy. And like, this is what we need. This is what we're looking for. She's so bright, so engaging, really interesting, great storyteller, very insane story, by the way, y'all. That story about Scott is I'm never getting over that.
Hey, it's unbelievable. And I mean, it's a great opportunity for somebody like Victoria to completely change the landscape there in Tennessee. That guy, he is so GOP, so MAGA, so, basic bitch, if I may say so myself. And Victoria represents a complete change in leadership, in priorities, and she's just so sharp, man. I mean, talking about, she's in tech. She runs her own website. She's a mom. She's an animal mom. She volunteers. I mean, we didn't get into it, but
she's an activist.
Yeah, and she also hosts a foreign exchange student on top of that, folks. I mean, she is unbelievable. I mean, folks, you're not ready for the millennial wave of leadership. There's a lot of AOCs out there, and they look just like Victoria. And so, if you are in the great state of Tennessee, even if you're not out in Tennessee, you gotta back people like Victoria. She represents a complete change in the face of not only our politics, but the Democratic Party as well. She is uncompromising. She's not taking money from big PACs. She's not taking money from Israel or other foreign entities. And so I'm just so pleased that we could get her on this program and talk with her, because I mean, wow, what a great time was had.
Absolutely great time talking to her, and we'll stay in touch with her for sure, because you know her. We've seen her on some lives. She's around, and she'll always make time to talk about this, the passion that she has to change her district in Tennessee. So we'll definitely be hearing more from Victoria, but that was a great guest, our first female guest, many more to come, and just a great day. Thank you, Seth, for making that happen.
You got it.
See you soon.
All right.